Prestige worldwide. Why?
Prestige worldwide.
Prestige Worldwide welcomes you to the following presentation of the League of Extraordinary Dicks.
What is going on, people? I am back. I know you guys missed me last week. You had to deal with these two idiots. But I'm back, and we're going to recap week 3. And I'm in an extra good mood because I beat a guy that's on this panel today. So, real happy about that. But what's going on, guys? How y'all doing? Where you going?
Glad to have you back. Definitely missed you last week because hosting by myself was no fun. So me and Drew are going to let Drew. That's what I'm saying. We're going to let me and Drew are going to let you do the hosting duties, and we are going to give the old commentary.
All right, Drew, nothing from you. All right. So before we get into matchups and all that good jazz, I did want to brush on one or a couple things, but a couple of them really aren't too relevant unless you have these quarterbacks on your team. Jimmy Garoppolo, concussion. Pretty sure Derek Carr is dealing with a shoulder injury of some sort. Not really sure what it is. And then the biggest one coming out of Cody's team, Mike Williams, done, out, over, ACL tear. I know that may or may not put a wrench in what you got going on, but it does not help. So,
certainly it doesn't help considering I went wide receiver very heavy at the beginning of the draft with the hope that I would have some depth and at worst case maybe some trade bait. But I'm okay right now. But lost some bench depth right now.
Yeah, that was a huge blow for you. I don't think, Drew, you didn't have any problems injury-wise, I don't think, this week.
Saquon beat a bitch. Yeah.
Saquon was out this week.
Oh, no.
But all right, who are we going with as game of the week? Are we going to go ahead and do that one first?
The game of the week, in my opinion,
who do we think?
Be Shaq and Joe, in my opinion.
Shaq, Joe?
Yeah.
All right. Because these were the two heavy hitters I said in the beginning of the year. And it's the craziest thing to me is that Shaq's 0-3. I have no words. All right. So, looking at this game, as crazy as I said, we did have a record broken, which I'm sure everybody's already seen the flex that Cody put out on Facebook about his team being,
the commissioner put it out.
The
commissioner put it out. Coach Slug had nothing to do with it. Let's
just go ahead and say Joe's team's looking kind of, besides the other one on this podcast, is looking kind of unstoppable right now. The duo of the San Fran, which I thought was going to be a terrible decision, is turning out to be a gem. And Kenneth Walker doing Kenneth Walker things for Seattle. And I think the only really weakness spot, and James Conner has been a surprise in that low-cutting offense. Only thing that's hurting Joe is tight end, and he has Dallas Goedert, and he's going to eventually show up. So Joe's team's stacked, and Shaq's team, who we all expect to turn it around, he just ran into a full steam train in Joe, and leads to 0-3.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Shaq because he would have beat 3/4 of the league this week. He just ran into Joe wrong week. That just tells me Shaq's got the potential to do this week in and week out. So he's just gonna have to find a schedule that breaks his way a little bit.
Yeah, the thing that's still, there's really nothing bad to say about either one of these. Gus Edwards' injury, I don't know how big that's going to be or if that's really going to affect him too much. But Hopkins hasn't found the end zone this year at all, so that might be a little bit of a dry spot that Shaq's got on his team. But other than that, like Drew said, Goddard's probably Joe's only weakness right now. Yeah, it was just, a team had to lose, and unfortunately it was Shaq. But I would be shocked if Shaq's team doesn't just go on a run. It's just, their team, he's just too good. The team's just too good. I don't know if it was just a slow start for them, all of them, but I would think he would turn it around some point this season.
Well, he's got Christian Washington
he
coming
just
off
ran
the
into
bench,
jail.
too. Whenever he comes back healthy, he's got Christian Watson. So
yeah, Yeah. So
Well, it's really stacking up to be a very formidable team because, I mean, he took Mahomes early. Jamar Chase finally decided that he wanted to wake up. But the gem that's really making all of this go for Shaq right now is the emergence of DeAndre Swift. That was just I know that was not a certain pick. You take DeAndre Swift because he's on a high-powered offense, but he has been absolutely dominating for the last 2 weeks and shows no signs of stopping right now. So that's going to be a huge, unexpected bright spot for him. And then he also got a little help from Pat Firemouth, too. He finally decided he wanted to play this week. So very formidable team from Shaq. Also, Buffalo putting up 32 points. Buffalo's going to be shutting out a lot of people this year, so I expect a lot of points coming from Buffalo as well.
Joe's running backs have 5 or 7 total touchdowns. That's just ridiculous. No, let me just phrase that. His 2 starting running backs, Walker and McCaffrey, have 7. Added James Conner, that's 9. So pretty much a touchdown per week per running back. He's averaging. It's just stupid stats. Unless anyone has comments, we'll move on to the next game.
No, I'm just saying. I know I'm technically in first place right now, but to me, the best team in the league right now is Joe. The roster is completely stacked top to bottom.
Oh, here we go. You're trying your little Russ reverse psychology, okay? You have the greatest. You have the number 1 receiver. We'll get to your team in a minute, Cody. All right? Won't you back
Drew,
off?
he's got to flex while he can.
Oh yeah.
You know, because commit. Hold on, let me get this Commissioner Luck. Yeah. Put that on the internet about how he's got the.
Read the bottom left of my screen, right? It's coming.
Says, for those who can't see it, or I'm sure you could, but it says Drew for Commissioner 2024, which is probably going to have some vignettes coming out towards the end, the beginning of next year. So,
all right.
Oh yeah, look at him. He's getting worried.
Hey, I'd be worried too if you run against me. I mean, I did hold, Everett as Simba, so yeah. What can I say?
You had a green screen. We had a kid.
I did not have a green screen. I'll have you know.
Green
that was my TV. That was my TV.
Other game I had today is, which I thought was going to be the game of the week, was Kellen and Russ. Russ pulled out a squeaker with his number 1 overall pick, putting up 2 points. No,
he took Diggs first.
Oh, was it Diggs first? Sorry.
This is the first year that Russ went wide out.
Well, either way, his number 1 running back puts up 2, and then his right now looking like his waiver wire, or not even probably waiver wire, just a fantasy pickup. And Zach Moss has turned out to be a gem right now, lighting it up for the Colts. And then other than that, he had an all-around pretty good day. Diggs, I don't think scored, but he just put up some good points. 8 catches, 111 yards. Deshaun finally played like a fully guaranteed quarterback. And then Kellen's just I think Kellen's hurting by the running back position right now. He's got Breece Hall, who's got no quarterback to even anyone be scared of throwing. So any jet running back just has no chance right now, I feel like. Stevenson, I think, got overran by Zeke this week. So I don't know what's going on in there. His bright spot is obviously Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson. He's like Tyreek Hill right now. You don't expect anything less than 20 points. And so, other than that, Dallas, I think the shocking one of the week is Dallas putting up 1 point against Arizona. You kind of thought that was going to be one of those 15 to 20 point games again that they were going to throw up. But I don't know I think they were just, all worried by Trayvon going down. But that's my opinion. Or not worried, but kind of just shocked and awed.
Kellen's tight end situation is a little scary as well. Waller's not really producing like Waller probably should. Breece Hall, we all kind of said that whenever he picked him. It's just splitting time, and plus coming off the ACL injury. I don't know what he's going to be able to do. I don't know what's going on with Stevenson. I have no idea what's going on there. I guess Zeke is just becoming more of a factor in the run game for New England. I have no idea. But he's still getting solid play out of Goff. So, I mean, he's not – I don't know if he's hurting with a quarterback as of right now because Goff is actually doing stuff. 18 points is not bad. It's really not bad at all. Russ, I don't know what happened to Henry. Did he get hurt or it was just that kind of day for him? It was just that kind of day.
Just that day.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't know what happened with him, but that's low for him. I mean, and I know that the half PPR favors more of those pass catching running back, but 2 points for Derrick Henry, who we all know can go for over 100, if not close to 2. It's kind of weird to see that, but I mean, there's some things that could be cleaned up, but overall, I mean, they didn't play terribly. It's just Russ's team they both underperformed, but it's not terrible stats. There's some spots where they can clean up some stuff. I think DJ Moore could have been over, McLaurin, but there's like certain little things that could have been done. Your flex spot could have been DJ Moore, like just things like that. But you can't make sense of any of that until after the game's over. But I don't think Kellen's team is bad. Running back, could be a little bit of a problem, but I think if he just takes out Breece Hall for now and just sees what happens with all that, and then goes in with he's got 2 receivers that scored 9.8 and 11.6. You could have put them in that flex spot. It could have been a little bit more interesting. He still would have lost, but it would have been closer.
The best thing to happen to Kellen this week was Joe Mixon finally decided that he was going to show up for the season. He had a decent week last week, but he's really started putting together this week as that Cincy offense just could not get going the first 2 weeks. So it looks like they found their stride, and Joe Mixon's benefiting from it. I know you touched on Ramondre. So this is actually his first down game of the season. He's put up almost 12 points and 13 and a half the last 2 weeks. So, and I know he just had a case of the dropsies when I watched a little bit of that game that Mac Jones put it right on him several times and he just ended up dropping it. So hopefully he'll turn that around and get going again. And then finally, Darren Waller is a big name tight end and has been for years. But think back what's happened over the last 3 or 4 years with Darren Waller. Has he consistently put up big numbers to justify the hype? I don't think so, in my opinion.
He had that 1 year with Oakland. Well, Las Vegas. That was solid. But I think after that, it was just kind of like just the name became synonymous and everybody was like, oh, he's a good tight end. So I don't know if that might have, why everybody was so high on him this year. I'm not big on Daniel Jones. I'm not afraid to say that. He's just, I don't trust him as far as I could throw him, and that's not very far. I think any receiver, tight end, even unfortunately running back, and I know Saquon's dealing with an injury, it's just hard to trust that Giants offense right now.
Absolutely. I'm in the same boat because as good as Brian Daboll was in Buffalo and even last year, it's just he's that bad this year. So I just don't know what's going on with the Giant offense. There's too much talent there. It's between the quarterback and the tight end, running back to not get some production, but they're just getting stomped every week. So just moving over to Russ's team real quick. I do like what you I believe Drew said it. Deshaun's starting to look a little bit more like vintage Deshaun. I actually texted Russ in the middle of that and I said, I know Nick Chubb's not there. This is the first full game and they're still trying to figure out the running back situation, but Deshaun is showing flashes of that vintage Deshaun that we saw in Houston. So if he can get on that consistently, he's going to start putting up big numbers for Russ. Another thing to keep in mind for Russ, too, is Aaron Jones should be back next week. So that should be a big boost to Russ as far as his running backs. I know he wants to pair him with Derrick Henry, but like you said, Zach Moss is the hot hand right now, and I definitely wouldn't take Zach Moss out of the lineup right now. Probably Josh Kelly can go to the bench just because he's not, with Austin Eckler coming back soon, and he's just not been performing to what they expected him to be.
All good things. So can I go ahead and get one out of the way there, Cody?
Absolutely.
I'm going to get yours out of the way because this was just an absolute, Bowen, I want to just look me in the eyes and I want to apologize. You could have beat a lot of teams this week. Cody all these numbers are, he fixed them. There's no way he got all these points. So I'm just going to go over how he cheated real quick.
Denver's did.
But in all seriousness, I have not seen a team put up the numbers like this before. You had two players, Cody, to finish under 10. That was it.
Yeah.
That's unreal numbers. I mean, I don't really know if there's anything there's really nothing I can say to this to make, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say that Mostert's going to have that kind of a game every outing. I mean, 41 points. That's incredible numbers. But you also got to think they won 70-20. That was unheard of too. So you had two players that played on a team that scored 70 points this week.
Yeah.
Insane. That's insane. So, I mean, you had some really just good production all around. The biggest blow for you was obviously Mike Williams, the ACL. That's huge blow for you. Your depth kind of just got shot there, but I mean, you still have Mike Evans. You still have obviously Tyreek. You have DK Metcalf, who had 14 points this week. I mean, you have some depth still, and you could still do some stuff with that. Bowen, dude, I'm sorry, you could have beat a lot of people this week. He really could have, and it just unfortunate we were still in division play, because if Cody had this against anybody else, I mean, hell, if Cody would have had this against Joe, it would have been it. You would have beat Joe, and Joe scored 160-something points. That's insane. Bowen's team, I do like Bowen's team, and I will keep saying that. I do like the fact that he started Warren this week, as weird as that sounds. I think Bowen's got a good team. I think he's got some spots. Depth, he's missing Eckler, too. So I don't know. Eckler and Ayuk. I didn't see Ayuk was out, but he's missing two big heavy hitters for him, and he still put up 106 points. I mean, I still think that Bowen's team is going to put up some solid numbers. It's just he ran into a team that decided to break a record. So it's just unfortunate for him, really, honestly. He could have beat a lot of people this week, and I think he could have beat me. I think what did I score this? No, I would have beat him, but I didn't. So anyway, but yeah, no, 172 points, Cody. Kudos. That's an incredible number. Your team really showed out this week, but Bowen, I'm sorry, man. He could have been 2-1 easily if he played somebody else this week.
Yeah, Cody. Right now, Tyreek Hill's the number one. In my opinion, it's the number one wide receiver rank. I know Jefferson's there, but Tyreek's scoring every game, and he's putting up just stupid targets, and that's what you expect from the PPR standpoint receiver. That's why you draft him 3. You put Kirk Cousins in. I think I'm going to see that more often from you now, because Justin Fields is just almost droppable right now. Other than that, the only thing that worries about Cody's team to me is running back depth. Josh Jacobs doesn't look like Josh Jacobs anymore. I don't know why, though. I don't know if it's because I think he'll find it, but he's not the rushing leader anymore. He looks like kind of back to his rookie year. But hopefully he turns around for you, and then Mostert's just the number one fantasy running back right now. I mean, if you have anybody on the Miami's offense, you might as well just start him. There's no other point not to. Well, let me rephrase that. Besides the tight end, I don't think Tua likes tight ends. But other than that, it's just do something with Miami, and they're going to score. I mean, kudos, Cody. I don't think Cody's scored less than 130 points so far this year.
Yeah, you might be right on that. One point I did want to make about Bowen's team that worries me. The Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown connection is starting to heat up for him this week. Looks like AJ kind of threw a little bit of a fit and definitely got Jalen looking his way again. But something to keep an eye on going forward. Jeff Wilson's coming back for Miami here soon, and at least going into the season, by all accounts, he's supposed to be the number one running back in Miami. So that concerns me a lot, especially with A-Chain going off, Mostert going off. If they're going to turn around and give this ball to Jeff Wilson just because he was supposed to be the number one. So I am worried about Jeff Wilson cutting into my production from Raheem Mostert, and that going right to Bowen. So that's just something I'm going to be watching going forward.
I want to touch on one thing with Bowen's team. Thielen, hell of a pickup this week. Don't know how reliable he'll be, because Andy Dalton threw 58 times in that game going forward. But this week, that was a hell of a pickup. Again, unfortunately, he didn't really have the odds in his favor for this game, but just wanted to touch on that just a second. Thielen was a good pickup. It's just I don't see them throwing 58 times every game. That was just a lot. I don't know what you would know, Cody. Were they playing from behind a lot in that game?
Yes, they were.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why. That's what happened there.
Moving
on.
One more.
Oh, go ahead.
One thing that scares me about Bowen's team is, just like Cody, is running back depth, because Cam Akers is coming to Minnesota now, and with Mattson not be able to hold on to the football, it's gonna be very scaresome. Bowen's got a good team, but I think Mattson not holding on to the ball is gonna be a little worrisome going on the future.
Yeah, and now he's gonna have to split time, which he did last year, and now he has to do it again, even though he was supposed to be the primary focus. Now he's not anymore. I had the Sarah versus Matt game, so Chicken Little Flea Flicker and Play Haters. And this game was very close. Even in projections, it was very close. It finished 97 to 91, roughly. I think Sarah made a very gutsy move and picked up C.J. Stroud, or started C.J. Stroud. It was very gutsy, and it paid off. It really did. He had 20 points this week against the Jacksonville team, which they don't look like Jacksonville.
They look like Jacksonville.
She made a very good pick there. Yeah, just sloppy. Is that what it is? Yeah. You had Cal. Yeah. Her wide receivers. I watched a little bit of the game, the Cincinnati game last night. Higgins was just dropping stuff. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what happened with Devontae Smith. I didn't watch any of that game really. But James Cook looks pretty solid. He's doing pretty good. Kelsey is just Kelsey. I mean, he's got T-Sizzle now, so I mean, he's just going to be even better now. So, Pittman again, 12 points, very solid outing from him. And then the defense, Pittsburgh's defense did pretty well for her too. Matt's team didn't play bad. It was just not good enough to win, if that makes any sense. I think Robinson just had an off week, which I don't think you're going to see that much going forward. Gainwell, once Swift got going, Gainwell didn't really, there was nothing for him to do after that. Ingram did pretty well for him. I mean, I think overall both these teams did decent to put up the numbers that they did. There's just, obviously I think some of Matt's players could have done better than what they performed at, and Sarah's wide receivers very shaky this past week, but good enough to get the win.
Yeah, when I look at Matt's team, the only problem he had this week, because that is solid production up and down his lineup, with the exception of Bijan underperforming a little bit. He only had 2 touchdowns on his whole team this week. That's where he lost his game, is that none of his players were getting in the end zone. And if that kind of production, supplemented with the touchdown, it's gonna put him over the edge, and so that's just where he fell short this week. I do think, looking at Sarah's team, Xander, you make a great point with her going with C.J. Stroud. He looks very good. He's spreading the ball around down there. It's not really helping the rushing game, but I don't think they need to with as good as he's throwing it around right now. So good production from him, and good call on Sarah for picking him up. Travis Kelce got a little pep in his step today. Got the most popular woman in the world holding his hand right now. So good for him and doing Travis Kelce things. But I do think Xander makes a good point about the wide receivers. Look, I would not be concerned about either of them right now. It's just an off week for these two, because both of them are in very high-octane offenses. They will get their numbers at some point. It just, fortunately for Sarah, she picked a good time for them to have a bad week, because she still ended up getting the W. So, and finally, I just continue to be impressed with James Cook. That's over 200 yards, 250 yards in 2 games. I did not give any love to James Cook going into this season, and he has definitely shut me up and continues to be a workhorse running back, which I didn't think he was capable of. I thought he was too small to do that. So good performance up and down the lineup for Sarah. And Matt just needs to get in the end zone a little bit. And Matt will continue to go back to doing what Matt does, and that's usually beat the crap out of all of us.
Sarah's receivers, you have Jamar Chase and A.J. Brown. over top of them. So it's going to be, they're going to have those days. Then, they're going to rotate back and forth. Jamar Chase going to have a bad game. Higgins will do good. So it's just which day. And then Matt's team, I think a lot of teams are going to start playing Atlanta for the rush because Ritter obviously can't throw until they put Heineke in, if they ever do. And then Olave is just turned into a number one stud for the Saints. And Trevor, the only thing that worries me about Matt's team is Trevor Lawrence has had 2 off weeks against one team that let Jared Goff throw all over him, and Houston, who's normally relatively bad. So Trevor's not going to say he's going to do it all year, but it's just he's starting to worry me a little bit. So
he's not met his projected score one time this year.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
So the first one I'm going to start with, I'm going to save the best for last. I'm going to start with Peepin' Tomlinson's taking on the One-Eyed Monsters.
Bullshit.
You're damn right. It's a game of the week for me and you, buddy. I should have put on this right here, Besties Championship. It should be right here because I've won that one.
So I didn't ask you guys to do this, but since I've been staring at the spreadsheets for a while, I figured it was good to add to this. Brendan's leading the current rivalry because it was rivalry week this week. Brendan's leading the series 5-2 over Jeff. Picked up his 5th one this week.
That's interesting. I'm sorry, Cody. Do you have everybody's pulled up?
I do.
Do you want to go through those real quick just to touch on them? Because I forgot that we had rivalry week. But I didn't think about that. I forgot that we had that going on this week. It's usually week 3 and then the last week in the.
So week 3 and then the last week is rivalry week. So I've got Kellen and Russ tied at 7 apiece. They're tied up in their rivalry. I am 3-2 over Bowen in the series. Sarah is 6-9. So Matt's got 9 wins over Sarah. Sarah's 6 in their rivalry. Joe is 8-7 against Shaq.
That's still, that's tight.
And then I got Zano, Lee, and Drew 9-6 in their rivalry.
69, dude.
Flip it around, Cody. One more time.
Flip it around.
Drew is
and
down
then,
6-9.
And then, as I mentioned, Brendan is 5-2 in his rivalry over Jeff. So I'll be a little bit more prepared going forward with that. But I think that's that's cool to keep track of because I don't put rivalry week in there, just for funsies. It's always an in division game, and that always going to mean something. And just adding the rivalry to it makes it that much more. So it's a extra week to talk shit to your buddy if you know there's going to be rivalry week.
I'll wait until we get to ours because we'll talk about it in a minute.
Sure. So coming back to Peepin' Thomason's defeat the One-Eyed Monsters this week. We'll go ahead and start with. Actually, I want to start with Jeff's team. Jeff doing good work, sticking with Brock Purdy because Brock Purdy's done a solid job with the ball distribution in that high-octane San Francisco offense. Debo is money. George Kittle was money this week, and McCaffrey stays money. So he's got a ton of playmakers around him, which makes his job easier. Just get the ball out and let them do the work. So he ended up having a great game with 20 points from him. Garrett Wilson. This is his first bad game on the season. And I know, with Rodgers getting hurt 3 plays into the season, that might surprise you a little bit, but he still had really good target volume. So let's see, I think he had 9 targets, which is the most he's had all season in this game. So Garrett Wilson not going away quietly. Now Zach Wilson's still his quarterback, and there's some frustration and some cracks developing in that organization, but he's still getting the target volume, which is good for him. Everyone's favorite fantasy waiver wire pickup of the season, Puka Nacua, decided to not really show up. But that's going to be more on Matt Stafford, in my opinion. He set the NFL record for most catches through 2 games, and they're like, oh, he's got the record? Let's just not throw it to him anymore. I think he only had like nine targets the entire game with 5 catches. So
5 catches, 7 targets.
To me, I think Tutu Atwell is probably going to be the one to benefit because Cooper Kupp's coming back, and all these targets for Puka are going to Cooper. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a place for him, but I mean, that's what you're counting on, right? Is there all these targets to end up going to Cooper Kupp?
Oh, 100%.
Moving down the line, Tony Pollard, solid game versus Arizona. To me, this was Drew. I mean, you tell me what you think. Dallas was flying high the first 2 weeks. This was clearly a trap game then, right?
He's so upset. He can't talk about it.
Just throws the interception straight to the linebacker. So why not? Yeah. I don't know if it was more so the offense than the defense, because I mean the offense didn't look great, but the defense is what's going to make or break Dallas. And losing Trayvon Diggs, I think that whole defensive room just kind of was like, what do we do?
It was a blow.
So,
it was a huge blow at defense.
I think they'll come back next week and probably do some damage.
To me, it looked like they got in the red zone like 6 times and only punched in once.
Always keep bringing it up.
Yeah. It was wild.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just saying, as a Dallas offense as a whole, that's why.
I know. I think Dak is proven to be. Yeah, he's not throwing a lot. That was his first interception all year, but he's not making the right throws in the red zone.
Well, we'll cover him in just a moment, but to me, that's why Tony Pollard ended up having such a good game, is because they were in between the 20s. They moved the ball like very, very well. So that's where Tony Pollard like really cashed in on that. But moving down the line, I'm pretty disappointed in Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, he still put up a solid day with 8.7 points, but he had a huge opportunity with David Montgomery being out these last 2 weeks, and I just feel like as talented as he was, he didn't put up a better day, which I don't want to take away anything. He put up 80 yards on the ground and had like a catch for 2 yards or something, but to me, there's no competition in front of you. This is your job to take. Now is the time for you to take it, and I just feel like he just didn't take advantage of that fully. Dalton Kincaid, I cannot believe this man is still on this roster at this point. I know he's outside the top 25 tight ends in the L.E.D right now. So there are better options out there. I know he's on a Buffalo's offense. I actually think Dawson Knox is available at this point in time. So
I think he was last time I looked.
So, I mean, Jeff can make some ground up there. And then finally, this was a bust day for Tyler Lockett against the Panthers. Panthers secondary is pretty banged up. So, but we said this going into this season. The reason you draft Tyler Lockett is because he's so boom or bust. But I thought this was going to be more of a boom play for him. It just didn't end up working out that way. Moving on to Brendan. Man, the Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen connection was absolutely dominant. Herbert had 405 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and Keenan Allen ended up having 215 receiving yards, 18 receptions. That is 9 points off of receptions alone. Moving down to Sam Laporta, I told you guys week 1, I thought this was a very special gem that Brendan had found, and it's really looking like he's going to be the next big tight end behind Kelsey and Mark Andrews. He's just getting that kind of production, and he's getting that kind of looks. He had 11 targets, 8 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. And there are other mouths to feed on that Detroit offense with Amon-Ra, and like I said, we touched on Jahmyr Gibbs. So the fact that he's still commanding that kind of target volume is great for Brendan going forward.
Jeff's team, I said it once at the beginning of the year. I just don't like Jeff's team. Pollard's been his bright spot. I think Pollard's been doing what you draft Pollard round 1-4. And then Garrett Wilson, he's getting hit by the Zach Wilson effect. And until they figure out something with him, I don't know how good of a wide receiver he's going to turn into. I loved him at the beginning of the year, but that was when Rodgers was there. And he's still getting the target shares, but Zach Wilson just has no confidence to throw football, and to be drafted number 3 or 2 overall, to have nothing going for you, and then Yeah, I'm still lost by the tight end situation with Jeff. Makes zero sense to keep the dude in who has. I'm just looking over his stats. He's gotten what 5 catches as his most game, and I mean, but he's not a red zone threat. He's just there. On to Brennan's team, yeah, Sam Laporta, yeah, number 1 tight end. He's looking pretty good. I mean, I think not number 1 probably, but he has the most yards as a tight end right now, and it's pretty solid. I did not see that coming at the beginning of the year. Probably should have with Jared Goff being there, but Brendan loves his Chargers, and I think every year Justin Herbert's been in the league, I think he's drafted Justin Herbert. And
I think you're right.
And I think Keenan Allen staying healthy is a big bright spot for Brendan this year. As long as he stays healthy, I don't see that connection stopping now, especially with Mike Williams gone.
I am a Laporta believer now. I think I had some bias towards it at the beginning of the year when we reviewed this team. The dude's incredible. He's doing some things. He really is. I think if Brendan's wide receivers stay healthy, he has a very dangerous wide receiver core with those two. With St. Brown and Keenan Allen, they could be very lethal. I'm in the same boat as Drew. Jeff, I think Gibbs really missed having Montgomery there, as weird as that's going to sound. I think it was more of a security blanket type deal, so where Montgomery's the pound it, let's get it done kind of back, and then you got Gibbs who's going to do all the finesse type stuff, kind of catch you off guard, but then he could also hit you with his explosiveness through the hole. But I think without Montgomery being there, it was hard for him to get anything really going. I mean, yeah, he had 87 yards, but not much to show for it. Pollard's Pollard. I mean, I think he's just going to get you your points no matter what. Puka's great. I just don't know how long that's going to keep up. And it's the same thing with Tutu Atwell. I don't know when Kupp gets back if that's going to change their target volume, which it will, but I don't know how bad it's going to affect either one of them. Other than that, very good game from Brendan. Jeff's just got some things he needs to figure out. I did like the fact that he benched Najee. I think it was smart because I really don't know. I think Warren's the better back right now in Pittsburgh, so I don't really know what's going to happen there. Or what's the deal? That offense is it's just like the same thing with the Giants offense. It's kind of hard to trust anybody on that offense right now.
I don't say, listen, I'm not trying to like shit on Jeff's lineup right now. I just think it might be we're still early on in the season with week 3, so we're trying to figure out like, hey, can we rely on Puka for consistently? Can we rely on Garrett Wilson, or do we maybe slide Jerry Jeudy in there? I think like his team is like pretty respectable with Lockett, Nakua, Garrett Wilson. He's also got Jerry Jeudy on the bench, so I think he's got some very solid pieces. I don't want to like absolutely trash the man's lineup, but with Pollard and Gibbs, and I said back on week 1, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to take that backfield at some point. So I think he's got very solid pieces. We're just going to have to make a little bit better coaching decisions as far as like setting our lineups and things like that. Because I mean, it's a crapshoot anyway. But I think with some roster adjustments, he'll be fine.
I don't think anybody's shitting on him. It's just
it's hard to trust.
I think he's got to make a trade. He's got to start making some trades. Jerry Jeudy might be a solid start coming because I don't see Denver winning a game for a while. So they're just going to be throwing the ball. And so that's probably going to end up well. Again, I like Garrett Wilson, and I don't think they signed Trevor Siemian just for no reason. I think there's a reason for that. So I think Garrett Wilson could start turning around. And again, Pollard's, even when Zeke was there, he was the best back. And so Jeff's team just worries me. That's all I'm saying. And my team worries me. So if Jeff thinks I'm just bashing his team, my team scares me. So, I mean, it's not just that. It's just I'm just saying how I feel.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's move on to our final game of the week. It's going to be a matchup between you two fellas. P and your Cornflakes taking on Grizzly Adam Beards. And as previously mentioned, I have Zano leading the series now at 9 or 6 to... Drew is losing the series 6 to 9. That's right.
Yep, that's more accurate. Yep.
So we'll start with Zano. Zano, Lamar finally showed up for you. He finally showed up for you. And watching the game, it was a pretty well balanced attack. He threw about 31 times and completed probably around like 20, 25 of those passes. So he had a good balance. But where he really picked up his points was on those designed runs that they finally called for him. Got the 2 rushing touchdowns, and a ton of those points came from 101 rushing yards. I mean, that's where a lot of your points came from Lamar. But that is why we take Lamar, because the threat of Lamar doing that is what sets him apart. If he stays healthy and continue to do that, that's going to be a huge X factor for you going forward consistently. Moving on to Devontae Adams. This man had 20 targets and 13 catches. That's 6.5 points just on catching the ball. Just catching the ball. Yeah, 172 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. An absolutely monster game in a losing effort against the Steelers. But I'm glad they finally looked his way.
I think Jimmy G only had 21 passes, and one was to another person.
That's a good point. So I want to touch on your boy Dameon Pierce. He finally found the end zone. He got lucky finding the end zone, but he did find the end zone and put up some respectable numbers for you. As I touched earlier when talking about Sarah and CJ Stroud, the passing offense in Houston just looks so good right now that there's not really a need to force the run, because even though they continue to try to run the ball, he is just not finding any run room. So I don't know what the answer is to that. I mean, I guess just keep pounding, you'll find it. So, but he did save the day. He ended up putting up 13.4 points for you with a touchdown late in the day. So that was good. And then finally, as I touched on earlier, I think Tutu Atwell is probably going to be the wide receiver not named Cooper Kupp to have going forward. He's got high target volume each week. Week 1 was 8 targets. In the last 2 weeks, he's had 9 targets with 17 total receptions. So that's very nice production for someone we just picked up off the waiver wire. And got the touchdown late in the game to boost those numbers even higher. And also had a 22-yard run, which if they continue to use him that could add another aspect to his game. So that's encouraging for you, Zano. You picked a good week to win. If you went 0-3 in the division, it was going to be pretty difficult. So being able to snag a division win was good for you. If that was the time to do it. So moving on to Drew, as we touched on earlier, I just think it was the trap game for the Cowboys, man. Like, I just thought that they were going to think they were going to roll into Arizona and roll over them. That's the only explanation, because they are the better team. They're exponentially better than Arizona.
Dallas, just anytime they play anybody that they're supposed to beat, they play like crap.
Play down to a level.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't understand why Dallas does that. But
no, you're fine.
I'm sorry.
I still think they're gonna be fine. They got their one loss out of the way. Drew somehow squeezed some production out of Miles Sanders, but so he ended up turning a great fantasy day for you, despite the incredible passing volume. Like Zano said earlier, Andy Dalton had like 51 passes. It was nuts, and I think that was a career high for Andy Dalton. One thing to keep in mind, though, to keep an eye on if you are going to stick with Miles, his touches from week 1 and 2, or his touches are down from week 1 and 2. So that's something to keep an eye on going forward. I just worry at some point is Chuba going to sneak in
51 times. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're absolutely right.
Well, Chuba only touched the ball twice, or 3 times, I think, total in the game. So I'm not worried about Sanders. I don't think you pay him as much money as you did to bench him. What worries me about Carolina isn't Sanders, is your Carolina's line is atrocious right now.
Absolutely. You'll get no arguments from me, sir. And then just to finish up here, Kyron Williams, clearly he's still the number 1 back there, so it wasn't a great game for Kyron, but I wouldn't panic because there's no other competition behind him. So this is clearly his backfield going forward. And he put up good numbers before, so I'd hold on to him. And then George Kittle finally decided he wanted to get in on the action this week for the first time all season. So that was good for you as well. He ended up putting how many points for you? 12.5, 12 and a half points. So that's good. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 90 yards. So we just got to get some touchdowns for Mr. Kittle. And then you did call it last week. You said you were going to go get him, and you did. Jerome Ford, a solid day for you with 2 total touchdowns. But I did want to ask you, are you concerned about Kareem cutting into those touches at all?
A little bit. I mean, you're there for 3 days, and you see the field quite a bit. I mean, I know he knew the offense already, but it's like a yes and no because it's the same thing that happened when Chubb was there. I mean, they're gonna try to figure out what's the best for the backfield. And so, am I worried? Yeah, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, they used him quite a bit. I know you're right. Kareem knows the offense, but they ended up rolling with Ford quite a bit. So, and he ended up scoring for him twice. So, I don't know how you can take the ball out of his hand if he's going to be the hot-handed running back right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried. I mean, am I worried about my team? Yes, because Calvin Ridley he's getting the targets. It's just I don't watch the Jacksonville game, so I don't know how it's going, but he's getting almost double-digit targets a game. It's just the points aren't coming. CD and Dak, I'm not worried about CD. Dak kind of just Dak. It's almost to start Jordan Love from now on. And there was a way to beat Zeno this week on my bench. It's just what I have thought about it. Absolutely, I didn't think Tank Dill was gonna do as well as he did for Houston, and I wouldn't have thought Jordan Love would have beat Dak in points going against Arizona. Dak was going against Arizona. Is it a tough loss? Yeah, but am I worried about my team? Yeah. So, am I going to say a trade's not coming out this week? No. So, watch out.
'Tis the season for trades.
Week 4 is usually around the time it starts.
But that's our last game. That's all I got for y'all.
That was the last game, yeah. So, real quick, if you guys want to look at this week's games, we're finally out of division play. Finally out of it. So, now we're going into the world of the unknown. There is one game in particular that I am really looking forward to on this nice little week 4 matchups. I like the Matt versus Russ game. I don't know why. I think that would be a very solid game between the two of them. The other one that I'm going to keep my eye out for is going to be, can Shaq get his first win, or can Drew make him 0-4? That's the other game that I'm looking at. That could be very interesting to watch coming forward this week.
I am going away from your area. My game of the week is actually Mr. Luck and Sarah. I think Sarah could catch a sneaky little sly on Cody. And because Buffalo's always played Miami hard, so I'm intrigued by that game to see how well Cody's Miami dynamic duo in Miami is going to work out for him.
I'm actually going to echo you, Zano. I think the Matt versus Russ is the most intriguing. Both pretty similar with their lineups. Obviously, Russ with the 2-1 record versus the 1-2 over Matt, but they're pretty close in projections right now. And yeah, 3-time champion versus a defendant who technically he's the all-time best player for the L.E.D in win percentage. So that's always just an intriguing matchup just for the historical and statistical factor of that.
Yeah, so if anything breaks, meaning trades or anything like that, and Drew's already hinted towards one, so I'm assuming he's already got one in the works. But if something were to happen before next week, we will not discuss it until the trade isn't full. Like we've always said, we ain't going to talk about that until it's actually submitted, final, and everything's good to go with that. It's been a very interesting week 3, and it's just going to get even more interesting come week 4 because now we are out of division play, and now this is pretty much make or break it for a lot of people, including Shaq and myself and people that are sitting at 1 and 2 trying to make a little bit of a move. This is a very big week. Week 4 is pretty big. If Shaq can't get that win, Shaq's in well, I can't really say that because last year he was the same way, and he ended up storming back like it was no business
and almost made playoffs.
Yeah, and almost made playoffs. So I would probably never count Shaq out. But
he's your number.
Yeah,
he's your number 2 all-time best player in the LED.
But yeah, that's all we got. If anybody else,
I do have
anything,
something. Since we're talking about
Sure.
trades, just remember we passed the rule a year or 2 ago that trades only need 1 day to go through now, not 2. So you can propose a trade on Friday, have the waiting period on Saturday, and then they can play on Sunday. So just keep that in mind.
Drew, anything you want to tell us a little bit about your trades that you got
Let's
going
just
on?
say I'm working with a hard negotiator. Okay.
Oh, there's a few that are tough, so I'm going to keep that to myself.
Keep on dreaming. And
But if we don't
keep
have
on
any...
dreaming,
Do what?
You know, Cody's gonna end his reigns.
Oh, the rain is here.
Yeah.
The streak might break,
Less
but the
than a
rain
year.
is here.
Less than a year. But thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you guys want to jump on the podcast, I'm going to leave it at this, and then Cody, you can put this wherever you want. But if you guys want to jump on the podcast and talk and discuss anything with us, feel free to just shoot Cody, myself, Drew a text and be like, "Hey, I want to come on." Just kind of, shoot the shit with us.
Hell, we might give you a
Pretty
game
much
to
all
cover.
we do. So, yeah. So if you guys feel like you're up to it, or if you want to just come and just hop on and talk a little bit of football, then by all means jump on and talk with us. So, but if that's it, we're done. Week 3 in the books, and in the week 4 at a division.
Let's get it.
boys. See ya.